Namaste, Soul Family and Star Family, and welcome to YouTubers from all over the world. Thanks for tuning in today, and this is going to be part 2 of our Planetary Reception Polarity series. I think it probably makes more sense to put the words in that order. So today, the last video we were talking about the sun, now we're going to be talking about the moon. So I got my little whiteboard here, life size and everything, actual size. You can see it right there. So here we have the moon, as you can see, and so today we're going to be talking a little bit about the moon as far as the two polarity aspects, and so I just want to talk about the moon real quick. The moon is basically our subconscious here. It rules us here on Earth. It's the most, it's the closest luminary and closest celestial object to us here on Earth. We know, it's very nearby. We can see her on a night like tonight, where it's basically a big full moon tonight. We got the full moon tomorrow, technically, which is coming up. So, the moon is of the utmost significance to us here on Earth, and especially when we're talking about astrology, because it's the fastest transiting planet, or it's not necessarily a planet, it's a luminary, but as far as astrology goes, we're just going to call them all planets. But it's a luminary, right? It's the fastest transiting celestial object or planet that you're going to be tracking with your ephemeris, or just in general to pertain to us here in our realm, and that type of thing. So the moon is our reactions and the way that and it deals with our emotions and feelings, right? So we're going to talk about some of the most common placements of the moon today and the signs through Aries through Pisces. Not going to talk about all the signs, just the two polarity aspects as part of continuing this series. So here we go. We're going to start by talking about where the moon is the sign that the moon rules, where the moon is in dignity, and that is Cancer, as you can see right here, my beautiful 6'9" Cancer crab drawing. There's no crab, I didn't draw, but so that's the ruler of and the moon is the ruler of Cancer. So what is Cancer representing? Cancer representing the cardinal water sign of the zodiac. It's the fourth celestial house. So not even getting into the houses, just talking about the pure sign of Cancer, we are talking about cardinal water. So it's initiating and creating new ways of how to feel and deal with the emotions. So Cancers are essentially waterbenders, but they have an option as opposed to Pisces and Scorpio. Scorpio and Pisces are pretty much in the water. The fish and the scorpion, they're pretty much in the water at all times. But the crab is in and out of the water. So that's what the moon has the power to do in Cancer. That's why the moon rules there, because the moon's able to, put up her shield where she needs to and say, nah, this is not going to happen. We're at home right now. We're going to relax, and we're going to ride this wave and catch this, catch this vibe, this vibration. And the thing is that, they might put up the shield that day. The moon, or anyone who's carrying Cancer energy, with that Cancer energy, let's just use the moon as an example for this video. We're talking about the moon might just put up a shield, right? She might just assume the form of a crab and just kind of crawl up under a rock and just kind of sleep for the night. But, depending on where she is in her cycle, her monthly cycle, that's going to determine kind of what she's up to right now. We just had moon in Cancer a few days ago, and the moon is almost full now. So she was big, bright, beautiful. She was definitely, splashing around in those waves. She was not crawling up onto the beach under a rock, I can tell you that. So moon in Cancer is very powerful, very, very powerful. In so many ways, Cancer is the most powerful zodiac sign in so many ways, with that fourth house, that fourth celestial house, rulership, and, being ruled by the moon, the only sign where the moon has dignity, and the only sign the moon rules. So that's talking about the positive end of that polarity aspect. The negative end of that would be where the moon is in detriment. And so that's going to be the partner sign to Cancer, which is going to be Capricorn. So we had cardinal water with Cancer, initiating and creating new ways of how to feel and deal with the emotion. Now we're going to be dealing with Capricorn, which is cardinal earth, right? The complete polar opposite to Cancer. And so Capricorn here, we're dealing with cardinal earth. So we're dealing with initiating and creating new ways of how to think and be practical. So it's a very practical sign. Cancer is kind of like the mother of the zodiac. Capricorn's like the boss of the zodiac. Two complete polar opposites. Capricorn's all about work, structure, Saturn, right? Ruled by Saturn. And Mars is exalted here. So Capricorn has that extra jolt of fire, of spark, that electric I got that electric spark type of deal is what we're talking about here. So Capricorn being a very powerful placement for many planets, but not the moon. The moon does not like being here. The moon is at work, chained up. She's not digging it at all, man. Basically, the moon, but you know, that does not mean she's not powerful here. The moon is still very powerful, even when she's debilitated. We're about to get to even more of that. It's going to be fun. It's going to be a treat. But just in Capricorn, just because the moon's in detriment there, it just means the moon's not going to work the way the moon normally does. So Capricorn moon is not going to, you know, react and respond the way that a normal person would, because everything has to make sense to them. Everything has to make sense to them before they can, you know, act, or before they can react, because their reactions represent cardinal Earth. So everything has to be structured and make sense. Saturn, all that stuff. And the moon doesn't, you know, doesn't mess with that stuff normally. The moon's dealing with emotions. Who cares about structure? There's nothing structured about emotions. All women could probably agree with me on this, and probably everyone could agree with me on that. You can't structure how you feel all the time, right? And yeah, so that's what we have there. Cancer and Capricorn. That's where the moon likes to be. The moon has power and is at home in Cancer, and is very far away from home. It's the farthest it gets from home in Capricorn. That's what it is. Capricorn is the farthest from Cancer. That, you know, farther than any sign. So the moon, not digging too much. So now we're going to talk about, so, you know, there's our little Capricorn thing. Look, I'm getting better at drawing. See, you can see that? So Capricorn being the sea goat, Cancer being the crab. So we're not trying, you know, we're mainly focusing on planets. We're not talking about signs a whole lot, but we're talking about the planets and their relationships to their closest sign relationships. These are two polarity aspects for each planet. We're on the moon now. We're going to get to the second aspect now. So where's the moon exalted? We're talking about the yang aspect, the positive aspect, of the next polarity reception. And so we're talking here about everyone's favorite sign, Taurus, right? We're talking about fixed Earth. This is what we have right here. Exaltation of the moon, Taurus, the bull, the naturally associated with the second celestial house, the middle of spring, right? The second trimester of spring. So that's Taurus, and Taurus representing that fixed Earth quality. So that's why Taurus is the most essential Earth sign, ruler of the five senses. It's no wonder that the moon is exalted here, basically in heaven here, because Taurus being master of the five senses, the feminine side, naturally playing out the feminine side of Venus. Also, the Earth being very comfortable here because it epitomizes the Earth energy, right? And the moon and the Earth are very, 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 very closely connected. So, of course, the moon is going to love being in Taurus. She's able to climb to the toppest mountain and shine and light up the entire world when she's in Taurus. And I've been, you know, when she's up there in Taurus, I'd be digging her, man. I'd be checking her out, you know. So pay attention to that. So Taurus being fixed Earth represents being fixated on your own way of thinking and being practical. And in Taurus's case, feeling as well. And when it comes to the moon, right? So the moon is able to stabilize her emotions like no other here in Taurus. Like the flight boss says, the moon is exalted in Taurus, and it's up there with Palladians, right? I mean, that's what it is. We got in the Taurus constellation, we got the Pleiades cluster, the 7 sisters. We've got the Hyades cluster, the 6 sisters, and they're right next to each other, man. In the eyes, in the face, and the shoulders of the bull, all throughout that area, baby. And actually, it's really close to, it's in Gemini too. So it's a whole area of the sky where I'm excited to get into that more in some other videos. But just talking about the moon here in Taurus, this is where the moon loves to be the most. So, you know, like a producer in the studio, musician in the studio, right? It's what you've been waiting for. Those few days of the year where it's like, hell yeah, man, like I've been preparing for this and I'm here and I want to be here and I've been preparing and I'm ready and I'm going to put this work in. That's what the moon does in Taurus. So the other factor here is that you can tend to get overexhausted. So if you're a Taurus moon, you can understand that when it comes to feelings, emotions and reactions and the subconscious, you can get exhausted because it's like you've got basically the highest heaven for your reactions and for your feelings and your emotions. And Taurus moon is one of the greatest placements in natal astrology. Man, that's the best, man. Come on. So I think we covered that enough right now, for now, right? Is that enough? Let me just think for a sec. Moon in Taurus. Yeah, man. That's good stuff. So now we're going to talk about the polar opposite of Taurus and the negative or the yin side or aspect to this polarity reception for this planet of the moon. So the natural opposite of Taurus, being where the moon is exalted, we're going to look at where the moon falls, which is the natural opposite, being Scorpio, fixed water, naturally associated with the 8th celestial house in the sky, right? So we got Scorpio, baby, fixed water, being fixated on your own way of feeling and dealing with the emotions. So this is as deep and as dark as it gets. We can equate this to a big glacier, big block of ice in the deepest part of the ocean. This is Scorpio, and this is Scorpio moon specifically. We would think that the moon would love to be in Scorpio, being fixed water, right? But, you know, the moon is at home in Cancer, right? And you know, the moon is able to jump in and out of the water in Cancer. That's the reality of it, right? So the moon doesn't always want to get wet. She gets tired sometimes of pushing and pulling the tides. So when she's in Scorpio, she goes to sleep, man. Basically, she's completely debilitated. She turns off because Scorpio is the deepest, darkest abyss that she's not able to express herself in or shine fully in. Now, your boy was born on the full moon in Scorpio right here. So I'm speaking, you know, we're going to actually make videos about moon through the signs. So then I'm going to really get to shine. Haha, right? Full moon. Going to shine and all that. But, you know, I just want to kind of talk about the archetype for now. So this is where the moon is least comfortable. She's not too far from home. It's a sex, right? It's a trine from Cancer. You would think she'd be happy in water, but she falls here. So she's basically not able to do what she normally does. So with Scorpio moon, this is basically the deep, dark, hidden things that you know, the average person is not aware of, but that are oftentimes the most real. And by oftentimes, I mean all the time. It's the most real. This is the epitome of the yin realm right here, is Scorpio, the 8th house, right? Fixed water. So ain't no telling how deep it gets, man. And ain't no telling what you can do with those emotions when you fixate on them, like Scorpio does. That's why Scorpios have to maintain control and power over them, at least of themselves, right? Because they don't want to melt that ice. They don't want to start steaming, right? Depending on the type of Scorpio, and the Scorpio moon in Scorpio, of course, the moon's not going to want to melt or do anything that the moon doesn't want to do in Scorpio, because it's a very, very, very stubborn placement, right? Scorpio, very stubborn. So you can't do anything. It's a very intense placement. We're going to make some videos about it. It's going to be good. But let's just talk about what the moon actually has options to do in Scorpio. So we have a lot of interesting fixed stars here in Scorpio that have made it into our you know, house of secrecy, of sex and secrecy. Scorpio being the sex sign of the zodiac. So moon in Scorpio, the moon is not able to work the way she normally does because she's basically drowning, which you thought was impossible, but it is. I'm going to tell you right now. I'm going to tell you right now. So, you got Mars and Pluto in Scorpio, right? So Scorpio moon is dealing with all sorts of energies that the moon in general doesn't deal with, right? Mars falls in Cancer, because Mars doesn't mess with the moon. The moon and Mars are not compatible energies 9 times out of 10, right? So they generally stay far away from each other. So, you know, the moon is not going to be welcome in Mars's feminine house. And also Pluto's there too. So, but, you know, that's just an extra influence really, because it's just not comfortable for the moon, man. She's not able to do what she normally does there, and that's why they call it the fall of the moon. So, yeah, man, so that's the second polarity aspect, with the exaltation and fall being Taurus and Scorpio. So we're dealing with water and earth solely when it comes to the moon, whereas the sun was the yang polarity elements of fire and air. We're talking, when the moon comes into play, we're talking about the negative polarities, which is the water and the earth, right? So we're talking about Cancer and Capricorn for the first polarity aspect, for the rulership and the detriment of the moon. And then we're talking about Taurus and Scorpio. So we get from cardinal to fixed, just like the sun. Earth and water, baby. So I hope that was an informative video for you guys, and I hope this stuff's making sense. You know, leave a comment, let me know what you think. Like, dislike, do your whole thing. And you know, I'd love to hear some feedback. Hopefully this helps, you know, and we're going to dive into some more topics next. So I think next is Mercury. And yeah, man, this was a good day for me to make this. Moon's in Leo, so it's a great day to express what the moon is all about. So hopefully you dig. Hey, peace and love to the soul family out there. Much love, and I'll talk to you in the next video.